Hi everyone, Mike Wolf here. Thank you for tuning in to Entrepreneurs Making a Difference. And today my guest is Nick Knight, who he's the CEO and co-founder of a company called Revizzit, which is a publishing platform for live connected products. And it revolutionizes the digital publishing world with its powerful yet frictionless anti-piracy technologies and gives the creator the unique ability to push or pull content from products and instantly change every copy ever sold. So that's really sounds like pretty amazing technology. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, Nick?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on the show. By the way, I appreciate it. It's a really great honor.
I appreciate you coming on the show. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, it was great. I got to meet Mike at an event recently, and so I was very honored to be asked to be on the show. So Revizzit's pretty cool. It's exciting because it kind of it's always good when you build a company to solve your own personal problems, and then when it works really well, and you get to share that with other people. So. I started out. I was in media. First, I was an entertainer, a live entertainer, and then I transitioned into animated film and gaming. And I was in that business for a number of years. And kind of when the bottom fell out around 2009 or so of the economy, a lot of these little boutique animation studios and gaming studios kind of dried up, and it got really tough. And so I decided I'm gonna, go out on my own and make my own kind of products, digital products, and sell them online, and that whole thing. And it went really great. I started off with, gangbusters. I had some ukulele training software, actually, is what I created. Still going strong today, by the way, so that's awesome. But anyway, right after I had launched it and it was kind of going, I kind of hit a wall because my products were getting pirated really bad. It was like you couldn't even find where to pay for it. You'd search on Google, and it'd be like 2 pages of where to get it for free, So I was just going, oh, man, I'm sunk, And I invested a lot of money in it, and I was really proud of it, and so it's like, well, now what am I going to do? That's my, that's my income. And so I was working on a project at the time for the same ukulele niche, and it was sort of the spark of this idea. I was like, wait a minute, this might be a way to solve my problem. And I kind of went to some smarter people than me and talked to them, and together we formed this company, and that was the basis of Revizzit. And so really, what it does is it lets you create a cloud-based product. It can be any kind of digital product, so it can be an ebook or a magazine or a video or an audio, whatever you want, whatever that can be seen on the web, and we display it through our app. And our app has a lot of security features built into it, but it doesn't bother the customer. It's not those things where you have to remember a bunch of passwords or any kind of thing like that. You just, it's not unlike a Kindle. When you buy a Kindle book and you go to your Kindle app to see it, Revizzit works the same way. You buy a Revizzit product and you open your Revizzit app to see it. And but what's nice is we've got technologies built into it that allow the creator to decide what can be shared and what can't be shared. And when you decide it can't be shared, because obviously you're selling some valuable content, you want people to be able to, first of all, pay for it, and also you want your customers to feel like they got something exclusive. They spent the money. It shouldn't just be out there for free. So the producers of the content actually get to decide, is this page printable? If it's not, people can't even copy and paste the text. They can't take out the images. They can't view your source code. And we even have an overlay over the entire app, which has a digital watermark that's going over the entire surface that identifies the user and the device they're on. So if they did screen capture, say for example, of your videos or anything like that. So as far as that goes, the consumer just gets to enjoy the content. They don't have any friction, but the producer feels fairly comfortable that their products aren't going to end up online somewhere. And if they want to share stuff, if they want to have stuff downloaded out of it, they can totally do that. So it's really about giving entrepreneurs the tools to do what they want to do, what's right for their business, instead of making a bunch of rules that they have to follow, and which you see on a lot of the other platforms.
Right. That sounds like really amazing technology, and obviously in this day and age, very necessary, because a lot of content is obviously going online and on the internet, and a lot of people with their intellectual property, if it got shared, then that's their livelihood, as you mentioned. So, couldn't be a better time for that sort of software.
Thanks, man. Well, what's interesting was that's what we set out to do, but what happened was something. I personally think this is even cooler. So what happened was, because the way the platform was built, where if you think of it like you put your product on Revizzit, and now it's sort of a hub, and all your customers are looking at that instance, right, which is based in the cloud. So what's cool about that is now anytime you want, you can make a change to that product, and you instantly change every single copy in existence. So this is a really powerful feature because now you can start to market to your customers inside a product. So for example, say you have, there's a lot of interesting examples, a lot of different business models that can kind of come out of this. So say for example you have a 10-chapter book, right, and that's what you sell, but at the end of it you want to offer a bonus chapter, right, that they can pay for right inside the book, and then that customer gets an 11th chapter because they paid for that. So we can do that, for example. Or if you wanted to, you could have a product where if the material needed to be constantly updated, a lot of products, you know, financial products, coding, software development, things like that, you know, things change all the time, right? If you have a Facebook course, you know that, you know, Facebook changes all the time. You constantly need to keep those products up to date. So what's cool about Revizzit is you can build your product, you can sell it to 1,000 people, and then when something changes, you just go in and change your product, and everybody got the update. They didn't have to do anything. They don't have to jump through any hoops. It's just constantly evergreen and relevant. And you can also use it to promote stuff. So right inside your product, to your best customers, Mike Wolf, for example, could say, you know, hey, I'm going to be speaking at this event, you know, whatever. For any of my customers who want to join me, click here to get a free, get a discount coupon or whatever you want. You know, you can do promotions right inside your product, talking to your customers, which are, you know, the best people to talk to, right? So it's really interesting. It's kind of, I feel it's really revolutionary. That's an overused word, but it really does change the game quite a bit.
Yeah, that's really neat. That's really neat. So let me ask you this, totally kind of changing the topic here, but as an entrepreneur, I always need to know these things.
Yeah.
I know you said you designed it basically out of necessity for yourself, which often is the case with us entrepreneurs. We figure out something for ourselves, and then we find out it's very marketable. But how did you go from being a magician into the world that you're in now? How did that happen?
Well, that's funny. Yeah, so I spent over 20 years touring the world with my wife. We had an illusion show. The Art and Illusion of Nicholas Knight and Kinga. So you can find it on YouTube if you're interested in magic. But it was a great life and a great career, and we traveled extensively. We decided to retire because, you know, we wanted to start a family. We wanted to kind of do some other things. And at the time, this was sort of around the late 90s, I started to get interested in, well, I was always interested in animation and art and things like that, but around the mid to late 90s, kind of when computers you could actually create animation at home, you know, Flash and things like that, and stop motion animation and stuff like that. So I started to play around in that, and I started to kind of get a reputation in the animation world, and won some contests and stuff, and ultimately led to my getting a job as an executive in animation. So that's kind of where it started, and then I worked in animation for a number of years. I worked in a gaming company that made, it was just pre-app. So before there was Apple apps, we had essentially like an app kind of thing. So you can already see where that went. But anyway, we made educational games for kids. What's that?
You were ahead of your time.
We were a little bit ahead of our time, and unfortunately, that was all built in Flash, and that wasn't compatible with Apple. So then we kind of couldn't convert everything. But anyway, it wasn't my business. It was just a place I worked for. But it was great because we built a lot of really cool, what are just like apps now, but really cool games for major publishers and major people, you know, and that was really successful during its heyday. And then when the apps came out, kind of killed it. And then I went in and I worked in television animation for a while and developing shows and stuff like that. And that's where I say that's kind of where my story had to change path, because I was working for a kind of a smaller studio in Hollywood. And one of the big major, I'm not going to mention any names, but one of the big major distributors during, I think, the 2008-2009 crisis was going bankrupt. I mean, major place that everybody knows. And it was going bankrupt, and they owed a lot of money to this little studio, and they weren't paying the little studio, and consequently the little studio wasn't paying me. So after a while, you know, I waited and waited, and I extended myself as far as I could to, like, you know, the promise that next week we're going to get caught up, you know, and that, as many people in this country know, during that time was sort of a whirlpool just sucking you down, and we kind of lost everything from that. And it was one of those moments of clarity where you got to go, I got to figure this out, man. I got to do something, you know, that makes sense. And that's when I kind of turned inward and said, well, you know, I know how to make games. I know how to tell good stories. I was developing animation and story. You know, it's like I'm a storyteller. I'm an entertainer to some extent, even though I was retired. But I wasn't afraid to talk to people and stuff. And I said, I'm going to put these things together and start my own thing. And I had a buddy who was an internet marketer who was pretty good at it. He kind of showed me the ropes to get me going, and then from there it just kind of took off.
Wow, well, that's quite the transition, like I said, from magician to where you're at now. So, what was the biggest struggle when you went from getting into being an entrepreneur and starting up this company? What was the biggest struggle, would you say?
You know, I think, excuse me, I think the biggest struggle that we're having as a company is raising brand awareness. When you don't have a huge budget to really raise your brand, you know, and you go after all the usual suspects, you know, social media and all this kind of stuff. The thing that really challenges me, and if I can have my sort of moment of complaining, I'll tell you, my thing is this. We solve a lot of problems with our platform for a lot of people. There's a lot more to it than even what I've explained. You know, things you can bundle your products together. You can have an affiliate network. You have all these. There's a lot of really cool stuff that you can't do in these other places, particularly if you're selling downloads and stuff, right? So we do solve a lot of people's problems, and I really honestly want to help these people. But I find that the communities online are so abhorrent to anybody promoting anything that even if they say, I have a huge problem, can somebody please help me with this? If I dare speak my company's name in that forum or something, they will just, you know, eviscerate me. So, you know, and it's frustrating because I want to go on there and help people, but they just look at it as being, oh, this salesman's coming in here pitching his stuff, you know. So that's kind of a challenge. It's just like letting people know this is really a solution. We're really here to help, but, you know, without kind of coming off as like, you know, salesman. That's kind of the tough part, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it is a challenge, and you have to be careful how you do promote yourself these days, because a lot of people do take offense to it, even though quite often you have something that can help them. And so, yeah, we always look at the salesperson as being the evil, you know, the evil salesperson, right? So we all go through that. So what's on your platform, on the Revizzit platform? I know there's a bunch of different products and whatnot. What's your favorite product? What's the coolest product on there right now?
Well, you know, I have a favorite. I can't say it's the most popular one, and I can't say it's the most expensive one. My 4-year-old son made a product on Revizzit, and I just thought that was so awesome. He was, you know, I was working, you know, on stuff one day, and he came over and asked me, you know, what it is that, you know, because he knows Revizzit, he knows the name, but he doesn't really know what it is. So he doesn't know what it was. So I told him, I said, well, you can, you know, like your books that you have, because he's like 4 years old, but he's a total avid reader, which is fantastic. So he's always reading books. I said, well, if you had one of your books and it was magic, and like anytime you wanted, like, you know, you're looking at the book and then somebody wanted to add extra pages to the book, and every time you opened it, it had new stuff in it, wouldn't that be cool? And he said, yeah. So he said, I want to make one. I said, really? I go, what would you put in it? He go, oh, I'd put all my drawings and I'd put my stories. And I went, that's a great idea. So we worked together and we produced a book for him. It's called Jackson's Stuff. His name is Jackson.
Oh, wow. Love that.
And it's just great. It's just, you know, he put a bunch of his, we kind of laid it out nice. We used a little bit of graphic design to make it kind of cool. And it's just a book from a 4-year-old. It's he's got sections in it. So he's got an art section with his drawings and stuff on it, including his digital art he does on the iPad. And then it's got a section of him stories that he's written, and he's got videos in there of him doing movie reviews, and now he wants to put in a travel section, so he does videos of him, you know, where he's somewhere and he tells about where he's at, you know, at the zoo or whatever. So anyway, it's super cute. It's, you know, very, very small kind of niche audience it serves. But,
I love that. I think that's really cool. I might want to hire you.
A bunch of people have their kids do it.
I might want to hire him. Is he available?
Yeah, I think, you know, you have to check his secretary, because he's a busy guy.
Has he ever thought of becoming a ghostwriter? Because I've been having a struggle getting my book out, but apparently, you know, 4-year-olds can do it. So I don't know what's wrong with me.
I think you just have to have that 4-year-old charm.
There you go. So speaking of books, I see you have a lot of books behind you in the background there. Who are some of the, I guess, biggest influences in your life, and what are some of your favorite books?
Well, let's see. I'd say the biggest influence for me, pretty much spanning my entire career, was Walt Disney. You know, I grew up in Southern California. I've been a Disneyland devotee since, you know, I could walk. You know, I've been going there every year, multiple times for my entire life, right? And you know, and it's kind of it's one of those guys that, you know, they've tried to paint on both sides of the fence. You know, he's a good guy, he's a bad guy, whatever. I think as an individual, what he accomplished, and, you know, I've read a lot of his biographies and stuff. I think what he accomplished was really inspirational. You know, the challenges that he faced. He pioneered things in the business that, despite the fact that it was going to cost him more money to give the better experience, he went that way. You know, when he was doing animation and then decided he needed to add synchronized sound to it, you know, it's like, stop the presses. We have the ability to do this now. Start over. We're going to do it with sound. You know, then it was color. Then it was, you know, then we're going to do a feature-length movie, and everybody says he's crazy. And then we're going to do a theme park, and everybody says you're crazy. You know, all of these things. And for me, so now, yeah, it's a big, giant, massive corporate conglomerate thing. But in its day, when Walt Disney was in charge of it, he did. That was one of the things he did that impressed me. The other thing he did that really impressed me was, in reading his biographies, was he took guys from his business and he plucked them out. And they might have been whatever. They might have been a supervising animator, or they might have been a director, and they plucked them out and said, "You're now the director of entertainment for a theme park." And they went, "I don't know anything about theme parks." He goes, "Well, I know you're going to do a great job." And he just totally had confidence in the people that he worked with and knew that they could meet the challenge. And I thought that was a really cool thing as well. So he's definitely one of my biggest influences.
Yeah, well, that's a good choice. I mean, Walt Disney was obviously a huge visionary and inspiration. I agree. I love the way he, you know, sometimes put people over profits, which I think is a very important thing, and sometimes often lost in the business world these days. And so and that's why we have the show called Making a Difference, where it's not all about the money. It's about making a difference and helping people and creating a better world. And
Right.
that brings me to my next question. What I guess either what are you doing currently to make a difference in the world, or what are some of your things that you plan on doing, or what are some of the things that kind of light you up, other than obviously making money in your business? What are some of the other things that light you up?
Well, I tell you, one of the things that I've really kind of stumbled into in the course of working with this platform has been that I've had the opportunity to help a lot of people kind of, I kind of gave it a name, digital product strategist, which is basically, since I probably am the single person that understands the amount of capability you can do with this platform more than anybody else, really, because I actually use it and have really explored a lot of its potential. So it's pretty exciting. I'm talking to a lot of speakers, authors, and coaches, people like that, and they're coming in, and they're, you know, and it's really great because they don't have to be boxed in by like some preconceived idea of what a product could be. So, for example, you know, I'm working with people like Shep Hyken and Tony Alessandra and some of these like fairly, you know, known speakers and experts, and helping them take their products from either sometimes things that previously existed like DVD or audio files or something, could have been a book or something, and then helping them turn it into something that really meets the kind of age we live in, which means like here's a neat example of something that I'm doing for people. So on the platform, you can take, because everybody's kind of viewing the same instance, more or less, of a product, you can actually put in a exclusive community inside a product. So, for example, if you sold a course, an e-course or something like that on marketing, for example, you could put in an exclusive marketing networking group inside the product. So now every customer, but nobody else, not the whole web, because you don't want all the phishing scams and the you know, flamers and stuff. You just want really good, solid people, right? So you put this inside your product. Now all your customers are in there. Then you take it to the next step is, if you have another product with a similar audience, put the same network in there. Now you've connected two products together. You've connected the customer base together. So you start to really think of like these really interesting strategies that creates communities inside products, that keeps traffic flowing through your product. It's really, so that's been really exciting. And I have to say, the reason I think that's making a difference is I'm not charging for this. I'm helping people out with their products. It's kind of the thing with Revizzit. You know, we're at a stage where I can actually go in and give people kind of hands-on advice. They can come to me and say, here's what I'm kind of thinking, and I can give them some direction. And then, you know, we have a lot of training and a lot of stuff that's part of it too. But I really feel like I'm helping people create these really interesting products that are going to make them, you know, more money and have a better life. And so anyway, I'm pretty proud of that. I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that is exciting, and as somebody, you know, myself, I'm in the process of creating some online real estate investing courses, etc. So I definitely want to talk to you about how, you know, some of the best ways to do that, because that's been one of the things that I've often wondered is how do you protect, you know, how do you protect your intellectual property, because it's so easy to share on the internet and send files back and forth, and so I've never really understood how you protect yourself against that. So I definitely want to talk to you when I'm back in your neck of the woods soon. That's
Excellent.
a really cool product that you got. Love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Let's definitely talk.
Yeah, absolutely. So if somebody wanted to work with you, I guess what would that look like? What's the typical process? How would they get a hold of you? What sort of things? Uh, like do they pay you on an ongoing sort of basis for consulting, or do they pay you to use the software? How does that all work?
Well, so if they want to get some advice from me, some product strategy stuff like that, like I said, I offer it for free, and this is actually my personal time. Obviously I can't work on your project for a week, but I can give you some really solid fundamentals to get you going, give you maybe some new ways of thinking about it, and I usually spend half hour to an hour with somebody, just kind of going over their product with them. So the way you can get that is basically if you sign up for a free trial on Revizzit, and basically what we have is a free trial that lets you have access to our studio, build products, and you can actually preview every product that you save shows up in your own app so that you can look at it before you start sending it to people. So you get a preview version so you can kind of see what you got. And the only thing that you can't do on the free trial is actually publish it and start selling it. But you can kind of do everything else, right? So it's really neat, and there's no time limit or anything. So you can get in there and play with it. And we say, come play in our sandbox. As soon as you sign up for a free trial, you can talk to me, because once you have an account, the first email you get says, "Hey, I'm Nick. Here's how to get a hold of me. If you want to talk about your product, I'll help you get going." So that's free, and that everybody can do. The way Revizzit works, I think we're very, very friendly in the way we're monetized for entrepreneurs and small businesses. It's a monthly fee to have the service. We have two plans. One is $15 a month. And that lets you have unlimited Mac and PC publishing, and then you can add products to the iPad for $5 per product per month. Okay, and that means you can sell it for as much as you want, and we don't put pricing restrictions or anything. You can use all the features, including the affiliate network and bundling and whitelisting and all the things that we have. And the only other thing we have is you keep 90% of your sales price. You name whatever you want to sell it for, but you keep 90%. The other plan we have is $50 a month. And that is unlimited publishing to Mac, PC, and iPad. So if you're somebody who's going to have 3 or 4 products or more, that's a plan that's going to save you money.
Yeah, wow, that's very economical. Actually, I was expecting it to be a lot more expensive, to be honest with you. So that's really cool.
We really want to appeal to the momtrepreneurs and the ontrepreneurs. We don't want to be exclusive, and a lot of these things that they just feel to me, as you know, in the marketing world, a lot of these courses and things are really expensive. You really got to make a major commitment to get, and that usually gets you one piece of the puzzle. We feel like we're a pretty big piece of the puzzle, what we can do for you. I mean, we really take you from kind of the beginning all the way to the end where you're just making passive income. So we feel it's a really good vibe, but we want it to be available to everybody. We want everybody to be able to afford it.
I think it's great, especially that people can consult with you, because maybe they have an idea, they don't really know how to make, how it's going to look once it's actually out there, and to have somebody like you who can, give them that information and help them to visualize what the final product's going to look like, and help them from start to finish. That's huge, because there's so many people that are overwhelmed with that sort of thing. They have all these ideas, but they're all kind of scattered thoughts, and you can help put it all in one place. I think that's really a great service.
Cool, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm really happy to help people out with that. I think it's exciting.
Yeah, so totally changing the topic once again. So getting more on a personal level. So what's your idea of a perfect day?
Haha. Well, a perfect day. So I'm kind of a tiki nut. I like tiki bars and that kind of whole crazy 50s tropical kind of stuff. So I mean, my perfect day probably takes place on an island somewhere under a thatched roof with a cocktail. But
I'm with you. I'm hanging with you.
Yeah, you with me on that? All right, cool. Yeah. So I've got my tiki mug collection right over there, and I used to have a really awesome tiki bar at my house. But anyway, that's another story for another time. But I'd say my perfect day probably starts off with, this is kind of the thing, was sort of my mantra ever since the career path had to change. When I was working for somebody and they gave me a paycheck, to the version which I have now, which is I'm responsible for making that income come in, and discovering passive income. I have to say, my best days always start off with I wake up in the morning and I check my email and I see how much money I made while I was sleeping. And that is just, there's nothing like that, right? So you wake up in the morning and you go, I'm already good for today. I already did it for today. I was sleeping and I did it. There's something really magical about that. It's liberating. That means I can go out today, and if I want to enjoy my family, I can do that. If I want to seize the day and do some work, but it's all kind of like with a good positive feeling moving forward, because you already had some success. And so that's how like my best days start. I just love that kind of feeling of having this automated business that's just running in the background while I'm doing whatever I'm doing.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir, because that's exactly what I teach. Just through real estate, I do it my own in a different sort of way, but I'm really big on creating that passive income. Not so much for the money, but just for the freedom. It gives you the ability to do what you want when you want, and you're not chasing the paycheck because it's coming in automatically. It just keeps flowing. You can't really turn it off, which is a good thing. So just gives you that freedom.
Exactly right.
And so I like that idea. I'm going to hang out with you on that tropical island with the cocktails, and I'm in.
All right.
Where do I sign up? Where do I sign up?
Let's do it.
So,
we'll buy our own island one day soon.
There you go. I hope so, because I'm coming to visit. So anyway, Nick, we have to close this out. So first of all, I want to thank you once again for being here. But also, can you let people know how they can get a hold of you? What's the best way to track you down?
Okay, great. Well, first of all, you can visit Revizzit, which is Revizzit. So it's Revizzit with 2 Z's.com. You'll see there, when you go to revizzit.com, you'll see at the very bottom of the web page there's a form you can fill out that you can send us a message or talk to me. I usually answer those directly. You can also check out, if you want to learn about Revizzit as a publishing solution, we have a website that's probably of interest to the people that are listening to this right now, which is get.revizzit.com. If you just go to that URL, you'll see kind of an explainer video that tells you about the platform, some of the stuff it does, and it'll get you set up to join the free trial.
Okay, well that's great. So thanks once again. It's been really fascinating having you here, and I learned a lot, and I think your software is amazing, and I'm definitely going to talk to you some more. I'll be in California very soon, and we'll talk. And I look forward to having you back as a guest if you're open to that.
Well, thanks, man. I'd love to. That's great, and I look forward to seeing you at the Making a Difference meetings.
I'll be there. Can't wait. Can't wait to see you again.
Okay, pal.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Nick. Have a great rest of the day.
Okay, you too. Thanks again.
Take care.